Welcome back to Rise and Shine. My name is Coach Lacy. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, or if you have found me somewhere else, make sure to follow and share with your friends. Today, we are talking about how to hold on in the chaos and how to let go when you just don't know what to do. Have you ever hit a point where you've got so much going on in your mind, in your heart, and in your body that it just feels like you're suffocating? Like, no matter how many checklists or finished conversations you have, there's still that lingering heaviness. That's me today. I have, as you may have watched yesterday, I've been having kind of a rough week, but I'm celebrating today my 2 weeks of complete sobriety, and that is super, super cool for me. After 25 years or so of smoking pot every day and drinking and partying, I gave it up. And it's starting to help me to be more in touch with my feelings. And that doesn't that doesn't always feel so great. It's not so straightforward and easy to navigate emotions. And as someone who is very skilled in emotional traumas, dramas, and learning how to navigate difficulties, I'm finding myself, struggling a bit. And when things happen in, people's worlds around me, I take it on as though it's my job to fix everything, right? And to be the one holding the strings and holding everybody else up and carrying it all. And oftentimes I take that role on without, without someone delegating it to me. I step into the role of being an emotional support. And I do it all alone. And in the past, really, I've done more of that alone, and I haven't had an anchor to lean on back when I was faithless. And the one thing that I have come to realize in my journey and my trials and my triumphs is we are not meant to carry it alone. And thank God for that. Literally, thank God for that. We are not meant to carry the weight of the world alone. We are not meant to carry the weight of other people's decisions and choices and outcomes alone, and I'm not here to preach it every at anybody. I'm not here to convert people. I'm not here to change your minds. I'm just here to give my testimony in hopes that it might give someone out there a light in the darkness and help them climb up out of that rabbit hole because I've been there and I know what it feels like to be faithless. I know what it feels like to have faith in the wrong things. I know what it feels like to think that I have control. I know what it feels like to not believe, you know? And if you don't believe in God, that's okay. Again, I'm not here to preach at you. That's not my job. I hate it when people preach at me. I've never been one to follow the traditional Christian lifestyle. I think that most, like Christian movies and music, I think it's corny, that kind of thing. I'm a lot more worldly than most of my peers, I guess you'd say. But that's because I've walked through the world and I've walked through the darkness and I have a different point of view on how things work, but it all comes back around to the central, it comes back to God and it comes back to the heart of things. And while we might have different ideas on how things work, there is truth. There is truth. And even science will tell you that, you didn't create this world. You didn't create this world. You didn't create your breath. You didn't create your body. You didn't create gravity, time, space, consciousness. So, that being said, there must be something bigger than yourself here. and something more, something bigger. And yesterday, someone I really love and admire said that she was an atheist and that she was faithless. And going down that rabbit hole thinking about that, I'm like, what a bleak outlook on like even if you're a millionaire, even if you have everything you could ever want, but at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed and you're getting ready to cross over to the other side, what do you believe? What are you going to believe? You're going to believe that there's just nothing? Did you just create yourself? Did all of these miracles just happen because you had something to do with it? Good Lord, I hope not. I hope not. And especially when you consider evil, I think that oftentimes people who lose their faith or don't have faith have never seen the duality and the darkness, or they've never even seen, they haven't recognized the miracles in their own life. And that lack of gratitude to something bigger than yourself, it's frankly, it's egotistical. It's egotistical to think that you created everything and that it's just happening by chance, and that there wasn't some sort of divine calling on your life to assist with that. And people often question, the evils in life and why does God do horrible things? Well, I'm going to read something here that my husband just shared with me before this, before I recorded, and this is pretty interesting. Okay, I'm pulling it up, you guys. Here we go. So this is from one of his books. So here's what it says. Often, Christians of the present day discuss the problem of evil. Why does a good, loving, and all-powerful God allow evil in the world? Right? Why? Well, perhaps the question itself is misguided or based on a false premise. Not only does it presume that humanity is an innocent victim of evil, but it also that evil is an existential force from which it is imagined God is failing to protect us. And here's where it gets good. The reality is precisely the reverse. Evil enters creation as a result of humanity's collusion with evil spiritual forces. Humanity is the vehicle which evil comes into the world and is most often directly inflicted by humans on one another rather than the impersonal forces of nature. God's merciful and gracious action is why this evil does not consume the creation entirely. Nevertheless, God does allow the consequences of sin and corruption to at least partially play out in his creation. What is often labeled as God's judgment, wrath, or punishment is really his allowing of the perpetrators of iniquity to experience the full consequences of their sin. As always, this judgment is not punitive, though we may experience it as a punishment or the price of sin. Rather, to truly restore faith. So, I'm going to chew on that a little bit. A lot of people don't believe in spirits, yet they partake in, manifestation, or they partake in, thinking. Let's take manifestation for an example. Thoughts create your reality, right? Well, without divine encounter, without a divine design and a little bit of divine help, what's receiving those thoughts? Is it your thoughts that's creating reality? Or is something bigger than yourself hearing those thoughts to assist? There are forces in this world that we do not see. And we're really quick to, jump to things like witchcraft, and people are really accepting of different deities, yet we don't honor the one that created everything. Doesn't make sense. So there must be something bigger at play here. And that is what I personally surrendered to when I don't know what else to do. And we're constantly reminded in the chaos, in the storm, we're constantly reminded that we cannot fix what's outside of our control, that we are not the author, but the storyteller. And you can't save people who won't save themselves. And we sure as heck can't think our way out of every storm. We can't just think it away, manifest it away. And I know this from personal experience that I have been the queen of trying to figure it all out. Just figure it all out. I'm sitting there spinning, calculating, planning, and all the while life is happening without me. I'm letting this chaos sweep me away and joy pass me by and people laughing in other rooms around me and while I'm busy being bitter trying to control the uncontrollable. And in that I learned I learned that the best way to control the outcomes and the most spiritual thing that you can do is let it go and release it and give it to God. Like let go of overthinking, let go of I can fix it, let go of pride and ego that says, I got this, it's all me. Because maybe, just maybe, what you got is a whole lot of emotional turmoil, a whole lot of anxiety, and a whole lot of depression that you're not meant to carry alone or just even carry it in the first place. You know, we're not meant to go through these storms of life on our own. We are not meant to walk through the darkness on our own. We are not alone. We did not create ourselves. We did not create the world. And anybody who thinks otherwise is fooling themselves. And it's just another excuse. And one thing that we all know is that all excuses are lies. They're lies that we tell ourselves to take the easy road. Lies that we tell ourselves so that we can just leave the past behind us. Lies that we tell ourselves so that we don't have to take a look at our conscious decisions and our choices and the way we showed up in that moment and take personal responsibility. A lot of these people who don't believe in God are failing to take a look at their own personal responsibility and the choices they've made. So instead of thinking that you're meant to carry it all alone and having the weight crush you, believe in something bigger than yourself. Believe that there's a divine design and a calling on your life and that God will help you through it. There is something bigger than you and that takes that weight off. It doesn't negate the responsibility, but it helps you when you're battling darkness, helps when you're battling demons because demons, they do exist. Angels, they do exist. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We're here on the computer. What is a computer? It is vibration and frequency. You cannot see the vibration and frequency that is emitting to put me onto the screen somewhere. That in itself is as magic, right? That's magic. So if you can believe in magic, why on earth would you not believe in He who created all things? He who created magic, right? You didn't make yourself. So stop acting like you have to save yourself because you don't. And there's a really deep freedom in that. There's a really deep freedom in letting that go, letting go the thought that you have to save yourself because you're not going to. You could make better choices so that you can be in a better position to live your calling. Our choices create new realities. We have the choice. It's not fixed. We have the choice. Before we even came to this world is such a blip in eternity. When you think about eternity, right? Think about eternity. Eternity is eternal. We only spend 100 years here. That's a blink of an eye. And in that blink of an eye, we have the choice. We are given choices. We can either evolve or we can devolve. We can either ascend or we can descend. The choice is ours. And until we learn that lesson, we probably will repeat over and over and over again. For some, this world is hell. This is hell and the demons are here. This is the dominion of the demon. The lake of fire is reserved for those who just completely negate creation and God. If you negate God and you say God doesn't exist and I am my own God and I'm the one, then the lake of fire is reserved for those people and that ceases to exist. But for the rest of us who are on a spiritual journey of ascension and descension, choices are what create our reality for the most part. I mean, yes, we are the storyteller and God is the author, and we have the choice. It's kind of like those books, Choose Your Adventure. The outcome will be different. Remember those? You you start reading one chapter and then you have a choice. You can choose option 1, 2, or 3. And if you go to option 1, you end up in the castle. You option 2, you end up on the road. Option 3, you end up in hell. Facing the dragon, whatever. But we have the choice. And depending on those different choices that we make will determine our storyline. Once we make that choice, we affect others with our choices. And sometimes they choose to do something similar, something different based on what they've seen from us. And it becomes a ripple effect. And that's how the whole storyline is affected. If you don't believe in something greater than yourself, doesn't that seem super bleak? Like, what's the point then? I don't know what the point would be, you know? And what better than a redemption story and a story of healing and a story of triumph? We all love a good hero's journey, and we're all on a hero's journey, you know? There's a scripture in the Bible that says, all things work together for good for those who love God. And what I hear in that is that even in the worst parts of life, even in the darkness, even in the mess, the chaos, the storm, all of those moments and all of those collective decisions, those get weaved into something bigger and something greater. Even if it's just a lesson, even if that lesson is something you don't sit with, but someone else learns it, even if all it does is strengthen your resolve. But you have to let those lessons come together and you have to recognize your part, take personal responsibility, and then make a change. And you have to let your pride down to say, you know what? Maybe there is something bigger than me, and I'm not the one doing all of this. And thank God, because now I have some help. People that feel lonely, people that feel forgotten, why wouldn't you reach for something bigger than yourself and watch your life change? You know, you just have to let these things come together. And some of you guys, you're missing key components because you're too stubborn and you're letting your ego take hold. And the unseen forces, the demons of this world, they don't want you to get close to God. They don't want you to be successful. They don't want you to overcome these trials and triumphs because if you stay stuck in the mud and stuck in the rut, that keeps you from your divine design and the calling on your life. That keeps you from your purpose. So if you stay stuck, how could you ever help other people? But if you get unstuck and you teach people how you got unstuck, even when you thought there was no hope, that is where the power lies. And that's how we change lives. We change lives when we grow through what we go through. But you have to surrender the ego before it's too late. You have to let things go. You have to recognize you are not in control. There's something so much bigger than yourself. And until we can do that, and until we can actually surrender the ego and recognize that we didn't create ourselves, that we don't have to figure it all out, we don't have to carry all the weight. It's okay. We could use the help. We don't have to suffer in silence. When we can do that and lay that down and accept the help, that is when things will start to shift and start to shift for the better. And we have to focus, you know, on the gratitude and on the good things. It's really easy to focus on what's not working. It's very easy. But when we could shift that focus onto what works and how we can become the best version of ourselves in surrendering and recognizing that we don't know all the answers, then we can really create that generational ripple effect and help other people through the things, the trials that we've gone through. So where do you start? You just really need to show up for yourself, make better choices, consciously recognize the choices and decisions that you're making, and stretch yourself. Stretch yourself, soften your heart, stretch yourself, and consider something that doesn't seem real, because that's where magic happens. If you believe in magic, there's so many people out there that are like atheists that will believe in magic. It's silly. If you believe in magic, how can you not believe in God? Doesn't make sense. Logic is flawed. So if you're out there wrestling with your spirit today, this is an invitation for you to set it down, set your sword down, give it to God, and start to receive some of that loving divine guidance that we so need. Because this world, it's messed up, and there's a lot of really dark stuff going on. But you don't have to let the evil take hold of you and drag you down to hell with it. You can be bigger than that. You're not alone. We are never meant to do this alone, on our own, by ourselves. It's just not the way it's been designed. So take a deep breath, let it go, anchor in, anchor in, nourish your mind with positive and encouraging words and media. That is, if we can rewire our mind to recognize the gratitude and see the divine design and know that we have a calling on our life, that is how things will shift. Nothing will ever shift if you can't rewire your brain to something more fruitful. So if I'm speaking to you today and it's making you uncomfortable, good. It's meant to. Get through that discomfort. Discomfort is where growth happens. And live your story. Because we were all given a purpose. All right, you guys, anchor in. It's time to rise and shine. And this is the way that we really start to do it, is when we can take a look at ourselves, take a look at our choices and how we're affecting other people, and recognize we were not meant to fight the battles of this world alone. What a bleak outlook that is. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.